I thought what we said we were going to do, and maybe you and I have a different recollection of what happened, but I thought I was supposed to reach out to the Bay County attorney and also to the DRBA, both of whom have been waiting for weeks to get an answer from us. So that was my understanding, and when I heard from you, I went and looked at the minutes, which are not memorialized, and I don't see anything in there that indicates that I was not supposed to talk to the DRBA or set up some further meeting.
Here's what I thought we reached at. You would talk to the DRBA, and myself and I think Mr. Watson you were supposed to set up a meeting with the DRBA for us to talk to them. I don't know is that how you guys remember it?
That's what I thought, and that's why I kept saying we have to start putting some teeth into what we're doing and let them know we're serious.
Well, we just had a meeting with them about a week or two before that.
Well, then, I guess you sent an email out there was a conference call that no member of the commission was in on, correct?
My recollection was I was supposed to speak to Mr. Lindsay and also to the DRBA, and both of whom, as the commission well knew, were waiting for an answer from us because, among other things, the DRBA wanted to know if we were going to accept or reject an MOU.
That was
And we
after
did-
closed
and we
session.
did not-
That was
and we
after
did
last-
not give
that was
them an
after the
answer
last
on
meeting.
that. So
The
they
MOU,
needed,
we did not give them an answer on that. That's
they
correct.
needed an answer on that, and they needed to know what we were going to do.
I thought we had till May to answer that.
The MOU, no, they wanted an answer. That was
Well, I know
provided-
what they wanted.
Well, they provided that to us in December and did not get an answer from us, and it was March. And I had indicated to them that we had a meeting, that we were going to have a closed session, and we would address that issue.
You know, we used to tape the closed session meetings. I think we should start doing that again, and then there won't be any ambiguity at all.
I'm under the same understanding as Brock and the mayor's already stated. At the end of the closed session, it was decided that we were going to try to go back to DRBA and renegotiate. Therefore, rescind.
Correct, the renegotiation, me and you were going to meet with them.
There was no negotiation. I had a discussion with them. Mr. Cook didn't have authority to negotiate either. This is something that would start a negotiation that would ultimately have to be approved. Now, if you, former Vice Mayor, don't want to do this resolution, you can vote no.
Well, I'm
Obviously,
just
you
I'm
can do that.
confused on the meaning of it. That's what I'm getting at.
Well, you can vote no. It's obviously an action to be taken by this board.
So you guys never had that meeting?
No.
No, no.
No, but the first step was to rescind the notice of non-renewal.
It was part of it.
I don't recall that. Do you? Rescinding the MOU was the first step. I thought the first step was the meeting because we were going to try to schedule it the next week.
As I understand this, once more, if we don't adopt the resolution rescinding the notice of non-renewal, this does not go back to their board and there isn't going to be a meeting. So that's my sense of this, that this would start a process and there would be negotiations and then there would be meetings that would involve members of the commission. And you kind of have to crawl before you can walk.
Public comment on agenda items only. We have now reached the public comment portion on agenda items. If anybody from the public would like to come, please state your name, address your concerns, and please limit your comments to 5 minutes. Thank you.
Good evening, Patricia Clark Kears. I have a question. It's just on 17.3, the ordinance first reading. And it has to do with the utility easement agreement. And I just want to know if item number 10 is standard language in an agreement like this. It says grantees, utility facilities installed here under may, without further consideration, be relocated to conform to new or reestablished highway limits. So I just needed to know if that's standard language in an agreement, or if there's a possibility that there's changes in highways planned for that area.
That,
The Atlantic City Electric, right? Yeah.
that easement is so that they can hook up electric to the warehouse so that.
Yeah, I
the
understood
ACAU
that,
can- So
but-
they gotta move a pole and.
Right, so that's just standard language in that agreement?
Well, it's an easement, so if the location of the easement is being changed, then the easement would have to reflect the legal description of where the utility easement would be. That's what the purpose of that is.
Okay, thank you. And then item number 17-4, the ordinance first reading on Glasstown Village Apartments. I totally disagree that they should get an abatement for taxes. It is an apartment complex, and it's been going on for years. It's not new construction, and I just can't see the citizens of this town losing out on tax dollars that we desperately need. Also, the same with Livoni Management. I don't know how many times, I don't know if they've received an abatement before. And do they get more than one abatement? If it's 5 years, can they get another 5 years? Or another 5 years? Is it 5 years done?
Do you want me to answer that?
Go ahead.
Brian, to answer it? Yeah.
No, they cannot unless they do further improvements that increases the value of the property.
Okay,
So it's 5 years and done unless they do something different.
okay. And
Thanks, Brian.
do you know what the amount of the taxes on that property would be if they weren't given an abatement?
Livoni, you're speaking?
Yeah, Livoni.
Okay.
Do you have this, Brian? Do you need that?
Yeah, I got it. Let's see. This is estimated using 2024 tax rate. Let me see, what do we got here? So, total tax, and this includes county and schools, would be $184,475.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And then, Resolution 18-3, I just want to make sure I'm reading that correctly, when they had the emergency water pipe fiasco on Second Street. Is the gas company going to reimburse the city without a lawsuit? It's just going to happen, they agreed to that?
I was told today that yes, that
Okay.
they would, we're doing this, we have to have it repaired, and then they are going to reimburse us,
Okay.
because it is on their property.
And then I would like to thank the commission for considering rescinding the resolution for the non-renewal of Millville Municipal Airport. This town can't afford that, and I commend you for taking steps to get it out from under the taxpayers in this town right now. Thank you.
Sherman Taylor, Isabel Avenue. Got to figure out which one of these that Ms. Keir's already answered for me. Resolution 17-2, the Code Chapter 52 for the disorderly conduct thing. When I was the emergency management coordinator a couple years prior to retirement, we, as a group, the police department, fire department, OEM, parks and buildings, and all the chiefs, we walked around to every city building and we did a security assessment of each building. I'm pretty sure this is because of the viral trend of them just being able to walk into the building and going anywhere in the building. Have any of the suggested security measures been put into place to this date, other than signage and the small door downstairs and the plastic yellow chain? That's one question. 18.6, the software. What's the software for? I think I know, and it's something that I think we've been trying to work on for a couple of years.
It's all the licensing that deals with all code enforcement, housing, construction, code official line of work.
It's software we've been trying to get for a couple of years, right?
No, we've had this in
No?
the past.
Oh, okay, all right. Cargo trailers. What are we are we getting them, what do we need those for? And are we getting new or used?
We need those because the building we have won't contain everything that it needs to contain. So we're putting the stuff in trailers. That way we can park the trailers outside and they'll be ready to go in the morning.
Okay. And there's no more permanent solution?
Not at this time, there's not. And it'll be much easier for the parks department if the stuff's on the trailer anyway. They won't have to.
Oh, we're
load,
keeping the
unload.
wheels on them?
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Grab,
All right.
grab
Yeah.
and, grab and go,
Okay.
sir.
Oh, you were
Okay.
thinking,
I was thinking,
like sea boxes or something?
yes, sea
okay.
No,
containers.
grab and go and get to work.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Mary Messick of Millville. 17.4, the way I'm looking at this and interpreting it, if you guys vote on this and agree to give it to them, I understand they have to fill out an application and they have to meet all the qualifications. But this is going to lead into something as simple as what we've already entered into, where we now pay $60 a quarter for our trash removal. That's going to open up to the rest of the apartment complexes in any area that appears to be in a section that possibly needs to be revitalized so that it's more abatement or more tax revenues that comes into our city. This, I'm sorry, it looks like and reads like we're opening a can of worms, and I don't think any of us can afford to do so, and I thank you.
Can I address that, Mayor?
I think that's
Well,
going to be
It's pretty important
withdrawn.
about why it's on the agenda. I mean, Brian can address why it's on the agenda. We just did it. We just did it for 3 people.
I know, but there was discussions between the meetings, and I know.
Yeah, it's actually not eligible under our ordinance. So I think that, I don't even think we vote on it. I think probably the proper procedural thing to do would be to remove it from the agenda.
Right, but I want to explain how it got on the
Yeah.
agenda. It got on the agenda because when an application is submitted, then Brian gets it put on the agenda for us to vote on. It's not like any of us said, hey, this is a great idea.
Right.
So I just want the public to understand that part of it.
Understood, thank you. Mr. Cott?
Rick Cott, Ginger Avenue, Millville. Just a quick question, 18.2. I see you're looking to increase it to 50%. Do we have a timeline when we think it's going to be done? And that we are in March, just curious. I'm assuming you started off probably around 30%, now you're going to 50%.
Yeah, what was the question? I'm sorry.
When the budget will be done,
We're looking at like April, end of April.
April. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cott. Seeing no one else, I will close public comment portion on the agenda items. Presentation, seeing none. Bills.
Make a motion to pay the bills.
Second motion.
Have motion second to pay the bills. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
Yes,
Mayor Romnick?
Yes. Petitions and letters. Seeing none. Reports of commissioners. Commissioner Hewitt.
Yes, first I'd like to make a motion to receive and file the police report, department reports for the month of February 2025.
Second motion.
Have motion second for Commissioner Hewitt to file the police department reports for the month of February of this year. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
yes.
Mayor Romnick?
Yes.
Fire department, police department, everybody's working away. Been busy. I would like to ask the folks out there, we all know it's dry. There is not at this time a red flag, no burn ban, but just a suggestion. Please get a hold of the forest fire warden. Burn permits cost you nothing. Burn permits, burns without burn permits that we get called for, it's not just Millville PD, Millville Fire Department that goes, State Forest Fire goes. That free permit that you don't get and call in and say you're burning your fire pit cost you $500 for that burn if we got to respond because it gets out of control. Just a suggestion to you folks. Once again, I want to thank everybody in public safety, from the police department, the fire department. Fire department's working with a new chief. The chief and the captains are moving forward. There's been no slowing in the department, moving forward with different thoughts and for the better of the city. And EMS, thank you, everybody. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Hewitt. Commissioner Sui.
Yeah, so we had our annual St. Patty's Day coloring contest, and we had over 150 entries. And we want to congratulate the winners. 8 years and under, it was Emily Abrams. 9 to 13, it was Dakota Blake. 14 to 17, it was Holly Burns. And 18 and older, it was Dominic Soms. Best digital entry went to Lexi Morton. So congratulations to all the winners. So the Parks and Recreation Office has officially moved to our new facility at 202 South Wade Boulevard. If you need to visit the office for Parks and Rec, that's where it's at now. Upcoming events, the Egg-tastic Easter celebration will take place on Saturday, April 12th at the Tim Shannon Sports Complex, located at 2 North Starp Street behind Lakeside Middle School. The event will take place at 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., and the egg hunt will be at 11 a.m. sharp. There will be plenty of fun for your children, 12 years old and under. So again, 12 years old and under. Make sure you bring a bag or a basket to collect your eggs. Have any questions about any upcoming events, please contact the office at 856-825-7000, extension 7394. That's all.
Thank you, Commissioner Sui. I look forward to the upcoming wonderful events done by the parks. I have them on my calendar. Some have conflicts, but hope to make them to all. Commissioner Casabun, go ahead.
Well, I think they should have an egg hunt for us adults, with chocolate inside of them.
I was going to say, go ahead.
All right, from Streets and Roads. We will begin collecting our loose leaves in April, so keep in mind, we will only make one pass through the city. You can start putting them out between the 15th and the 31st of this month. Brush collection will be in the month of May, and residents may place their brush to the curb between April the 15th to April the 30th. Streets and Roads are prepping for our road work session, which we've already repaired a sinkhole at 3rd and Florence this month. Potholes are being filled as we're made aware of them. If we don't hear from you, we won't know where to fix them. Thank you for those who call them in. If they see one, it's greatly appreciated. The new drive on lift that was installed is a huge asset to our fleet garage. And that's it for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Casabun. Vice Mayor Watson, go ahead.
I would like to make a motion to receive and file the tax collector's report for February 2025.
Second motion.
I have a motion second for Vice Mayor Watson to receive and file the tax collector report of February 2025. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
Yes.
Mayor Romnick?
Yes.
Also, if I may, I would like to make a motion to remove ordinance under the first reading, item number 4, which is submittal from Glasstown Village for the 5-year tax exemption. Got to sit with Brock and Brian during our small break after the work session. We went over the language one more time, and it's been determined that they don't meet the qualifications. Can I make a motion
You just did.
to remove so? Okay.
Brock, do we remove it or do we vote?
I think it can be removed, and then you won't even address it.
Okay, so if we remove, what I'm worried about is somebody coming back and pushing it again. Are we better off to remove it, or do we just vote on it and take care of it?
Yeah, I think it should be removed because it's clearly ineligible under ordinance section 65-14B, which provides that residential dwellings and multiple dwellings are not eligible for exemption or abatement from taxation for the improvements, conversion, alteration, or construction pursuant to this article, which is the 5-year short-term tax abatement. So it shouldn't even be before the body. It should
No
just
action
be
means it's
removed.
done.
Yeah.
Second motion.
I have a motion and second.
Wait a minute. Joe, you got something?
Well, I was just thinking of one that expired. That was one of our larger apartment complexes that had had a tax abatement for several years. So,
Would that be under at least like a redevelopment?
Yeah, if it's
No, that
affordable
wasn't under
housing,
redevelopment, that was. 'cause you
affordable
were-
housing is something under the redevelopment law that would allow long-term tax
So that
abatement.
this doesn't fall under 4C.
No, this is a short-term tax
C4.
abatement. And the governing body, when it enacted the ordinance, chose not to make them eligible. Or residential, for that matter, is not eligible.
I have a motion and a second for the removal of ordinance in the first reading, item number 4. Can I have a roll call, please, on the removal of ordinance number 4?
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Kotzboon?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
Yes.
Mayor Romanek?
Yes.
Furthermore, we already touched base on the dewatering project. Engineering has offered to make a presentation for us. Still got to do a little bit of digging to find out like the specifics. Meet with the CFO, see if there's any options to help out funding-wise. From what I understand, there was a previously authorized bond ordinance passed by the commission. I believe it was in 2022. I believe the next milestone is for us, for approvals and authorization to advertise. But I'll follow up on that to get the specifics. Towers have been installed and existing radio read meters are pinging, however not programmed. Meter cycle number 3 is to be installed April 12th, 2025. I got a note here for Union Lake area.
That's for,
For the meter reading.
that's it. Thank you.
Got a meeting with the water department tomorrow to discuss budgeting and ongoing well assessment and ongoing redevelopment for the wells. Anxious to meet with Derek. Water utility is scheduled to deliver a 1,050-gallon sodium hypochlorite tank at one of the wells. The new feed system will only be placed online after the NJDEP permit modification is approved. Engineering is working with the developer on the TWA application for the Phase 3 Four Seasons project. And I think that's all I had highlighted. One more. Pleasant Drive improvements. Site inspection by engineering is still ongoing to move forward final plans and details required for bidding. Residents have been reaching out requesting curbing in front of their homes. However, there is insufficient funds to curb the entire roadway. Curbing is being placed according to the drainage and safety concerns. Should there be any opportunity, residents' concerns will be respectfully considered for the project. And I believe that's all I have.
I know a lot of residents that live on Pleasant Drive, they always complain about the speeding, even as the road is in horrible shape right now, but in case you didn't know that.
I
But
can't say I'm one of the ones who
Shock test.
thank you, Vice Mayor Watson, for all those updates. I know a lot of those residents want, and is needed of Pleasant Drive, along with many other roads within the city of Millville. So thank you for those updates. A survey will soon be forthcoming for the public concerns for the 5-year 2025 to 2029 CDBG Consolidated Plan. This will soon be available on the city website, and paper copies will be available at City Hall. March 15th, I attended the All Sports Museum of Southern New Jersey for the induction of Ricky Bottalico. Afterwards, I was able to go to lunch and sit with former Phillies GM Ed Wade. It was a great experience to hear the stories and knowledge that Ed Wade has gained over his life and over 40 years working in Major League Baseball. Thank you to Mr. Dave Hitchner and all the Museum of Sports staff and committee members for inviting me. Ordinances in the second reading.
We have an ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank in accordance with NJSA 40A:4-45.14 for calendar year 2025.
Make a motion.
Second motion.
I have a motion and a second on ordinance in the second reading, item number 1. There is a public hearing on this. If anybody from the public would like to comment on this ordinance, second reading, item number 1, please come to the podium, state your name, address your concerns, and limit them to 5 minutes. Seeing no one, I will close public hearing. Comments of commissioners?
I don't see enough responsible spending for me to go along with this. So that's all I'll say about that.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
No.
Mayor Romnick?
Yes.
Ordinance on the second reading, amending Chapter 50, Section 1, Creation, contained in Article 1, Millville Police Department established in order to add 2 additional lieutenants.
Make motion.
Second motion.
I have a motion and second on ordinance in the second reading, item number 2. I would now open public hearing on this ordinance and item number 2. Anybody from the public would like to come to the podium to address your concerns? Seeing no one, I will close public hearing. Comments of the commissioners?
Yes, we all sat in a closed session, and this was discussed, and I think everybody realizes why this is happening and how it is happening. And my vote will reflect that. That's all, Mayor.
Sure, I have a couple comments. So as we heard at the last, when we discussed this last meeting, work session, I think you meant, not closed session, I guess.
No, we actually had a closed session.
Oh, we had a work session too as well, right? So in the work session, it was discussed about how we would be turning 2 positions into lieutenant's positions, and we wouldn't be replacing sergeants. At first, it was said that we weren't going to do that for a while, then it was said that we were going to do it right away, and that's the plan, correct, right away. And we just had a conversation about, you're not going to replace the sergeants. This is not going to help with feet on the street. It's going to increase the cost of the taxpayers. And if you had anywhere near a full complement of police officers, I think you would at least have a valid argument for doing it. I understand there's a report from the prosecutor's office, but that report goes way back to 2007 or whatever. So obviously there was no hurry then. And as I said, if you had near a full complement, then you would have people to supervise. But if you don't have near a full complement, I don't see why you need more supervision with less officers. Additionally, somebody's doing these duties now, so I'm guessing it's a sergeant, not an officer doing them.
Yep.
So now we're going to pay somebody more money to do the same thing. That just doesn't sit well with me, why we aren't manned enough. And I mean, we did discuss during the work session, a way to get manpower up temporarily till you can recruit. But this makes no sense at this time. And I can't support it because of that. And additionally, in the outside world, I have had several people have conversations with me about this, and nobody supported it. Not one person that I talked to supported it, and I didn't invite them. They came to me and they talked to me. Your guys' experience may be different. But senseless to have a lot of supervisors and less people on the street, especially when your sergeants are the supervisors on the street, correct?
Right now, there are supervisors inside the department
But they're also supervisors on the street.
when we have them on
And if
street.
you're not going to fill those sergeants' positions, I don't know why you're not eliminating them as you make the lieutenants' positions.
The best thing I could say in your thoughts, respectfully, we haven't been ignoring it and kicking it down the road. The last commission ignored it and kicked it down the road. The last person that sat in his seat ignored it and kicked it down the road. And at this point in time, it's pretty evident that we need to change our supervisory personnel. Lieutenants are the way to do it.
I mean, I don't know what the list looks like. Are you actually changing the personnel or in other words, is a sergeant that's doing it now going to be the one that gets promoted to lieutenant?
Chief, would you like to have the podium?
Without having the list certified, would be appropriate for me to speak on that behalf, on who's going to get it or where they come from.
Right.
The up to language for the 6 lieutenants, it's just that up to. It
Chief,
already reads that-
can you go to the podium, please? Thank you, Chief.
Chief Ross Hoffman. So the up to language for the lieutenants is just that, it's up to. Currently, we have up to language for the sergeants, so we don't have to do away with them because it's up to. We don't have to fill them because it has the up to language. So with the addition of these lieutenants, they will assume the responsibilities of the patrol sergeants and allow for the patrol sergeants to go on the road. They will be able to assist their officers and not be stuck doing administrative duties This will not only reduce the city's liability, but it reduce the stress and call load on the officers working the shift. So these sergeants can actually, they'll handle the lighter calls while the guys go out there and can handle the ones that they really need to.
If I may ask a question.
Sure.
So you said the sergeants will go out and patrol, but you're losing 2 sergeants because you're not going to fill those spots.
Right, so right now I'm a couple heavy because we don't have any proactive units. So I don't have the officers to staff the proactive units. That way I have one retirement, so that spot's open for a sergeant. And then the guy who gets promoted, whoever one of the sergeants are, that spot won't be filled. So technically I'm doing away with 2 sergeants to do the 1 lieutenant now.
But the up to will still be there, and here's my experience in government. If there's an up to, then sooner or later, somebody will make it up to. They won't say, okay, let's just leave it. They'll say, okay, let's do it.
Well,
And-
ideally.
And that's how it goes.
Right, well, so the up to there, the number there, up to 6 would be for the ideal number. That would be the police department at its full staffing,
Yeah.
and that would allow a lieutenant on every shift. And that would be the maximum supervision, which would be the best coverage and reduce our civil liability by a lot.
And if we were at full coverage, if we had full coverage of police officers, I would support this wholeheartedly, but we don't.
Yeah, and you're right, and we are in the process of hiring, but the problem is we cannot hire or find new officers or send them to academy until August. And unfortunately, although the contract that was just recently settled, it's not quite enough for us to attract officers from other towns to come seek employment in our town.
We're starting off new.
Right,
And
so
Okay, well,
that's where we're at.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the idea of having an additional lieutenant gets the sergeant out of the police building and
Yes.
onto the street with the officers.
Correct.
Correct, and that's where they belong. The sergeants belong on the road, watching their personnel. Right now, over the last few years, we've been inundated with a lot of administrative duties, whether it be body cam reviews, and each one of those use of force reviews, all these things, they all have they have a first and second review process. So the sergeants review all these things constantly. So they're stuck in the station doing paperwork when they should be out. So the creation of one will push them out.
so that's where I get confused, because you say the sergeants are gonna go out in the street, but if you're making 2 of them lieutenants, and you're not replacing sergeants, how do they go out in the street if they're not there?
Well, the police department is 24/7, therefore we have an abundance of shifts that we have to cover. Having one more lieutenant on a different shift alleviates the idea of having a sergeant in-house. The sergeant could be out with the other officers.
So in
As
other
we
words,
met-
there could be, so in another area such as detectives, right? So detectives has a lieutenant, a sergeant, and detectives. So if we were to have an opening in the sergeant spot there, a lieutenant would just watch their personnel, because that's the smallest number that we have. So 1 lieutenant would watch his 4 or 5 detectives.
Well, I'm still
And I'm
confused.
swinging
I'm
it
still
to
confused
patrol.
about the numbers. I mean, if you have
It's hard to
18 minus
debate.
2, it's still 16.
It's hard to
But-
debate while we're here.
Okay.
I do have, our organizational chart, if you want to see that. That's available to anybody if they want
I've
to see that.
seen it, but thank you.
Well,
I know you're very familiar.
And our labor attorney put it pretty close to, there's also liabilities here that we face and everything else each day and night. And we're not putting 2 lieutenants on. We're not moving 2 lieutenants up.
That's what you
Correct,
said
Chief?
last week.
Up 2.
Are you
Up
moving
to.
2 lieutenants up now or no?
One would be immediate.
1.
And when did we add the other one? Last year or the year before?
Last year.
How
But
many
I-
do we have in the academy right now?
We have 3
We have
officers in
three.
the academy.
And what's the idea for this year's academy?
Packet.
This year, it looks like by August, I will have at least 15 slots.
Packet.
15 new officers are going to be hitting the street that need supervision.
Well, 15 are going to go to the academy. They're all going to make
They're
it.
not gonna pass.
Yeah.
I hope they all pass.
Well, in today's world, I would say a police officer's position out on the road, especially if you're inexperienced, is probably going to be defensive, correct? Having a leader out there that knows what they're going to and has experience in doing so, those officers are going to need supervision.
You know what, I agree with that, Mr. Watson, but my point is, you already have that, enough sergeants to do that, because you're going to have 2 less, so you already have enough to do that, you should. In
We-
theory, if you're not going to fill those spots.
Those sergeants are in the building right now.
You're going to make 2 sergeants lieutenants. You're going to have 2 less sergeants,
1.
or 1. If you make 1 lieutenant,
One.
you're still going to have 1 less sergeant to go out. no matter how you slice it, it's still minus one sergeant. So that's the part I'm having a little hard time understanding with, because I get it. Yeah, you need the supervision on the street, no argument at all. But now you have less sergeants to send out on the street. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and then to alleviate the sergeant that's in-house, we need a lieutenant in position so the sergeant could go out with the troops.
'Cause
But
right
the
now,
problem is,
they're not
one
out
of
there.
those sergeants is gonna be a lieutenant, he's not gonna be available to go out on the street if he's a
Well, I think
lieutenant.
what you're getting stuck on is all the sergeants work the street, and that's not it. So the sergeants are split into different divisions, right? So we have our patrol division that has a whole set of sergeants. There's 8 of them. They are tied up just doing administrative duty. I'm gonna pull a sergeant from another area, most likely, or I could rearrange them however it is, but most likely from another division, which will make a lieutenant to oversee them, and they will alleviate that. There'll be 3 lieutenants, and then it'll be a 24-hour lieutenant on.
Lieutenant supervision, yeah.
Okay, I'm just not computing on the math, and I will vote
We're
accordingly.
good. We're
Thank-
good.
Thanks, Chief.
I will close public hearing on ordinance in the second reading, item number 2. Any further comments of commissioners? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
No,
Mayor Romanek?
Yes.
Okay, ordinance on first reading, approving and authorizing an application to hold a coin drop for the Millville Police Athletic League on June 15, 2025, and June 16, 2025, at the intersections of Buckshootum Road and Cedarville Road.
move the ordinance on first reading.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on ordinance in the first reading, item number 1. Any comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
Yes,
Mayor Romanek?
Yes.
Ordinance, the second ordinance on first reading is amending Millville Code, Chapter 52, Police Regulations, Article 4, Disorderly Conduct, Section 52-13, enumeration of actions constituting disorderly conduct to prohibit the use of videotaping or audio taping equipment in certain city offices and workspaces designated as non-public forums or limited public forums.
Make a motion?
Second.
We have a motion and a second on ordinance in the first reading, item number 2. Any comments? Yes, Mr. Taylor, you are exactly correct with the people of that wanting to use and abuse of the First Amendment. I do not feel it's necessary to tell. We can have a conversation in private of what your steps have been previously taken and what steps we have enacted. But it's like sharing, secrets that people don't need to know. This is the first step in that we looked at other cities and municipalities that have already taken this type of ordinance and into a memoriam, correct, Brock?
That's right, and in fact, one of the problems is that when this person was videotaping, one of the clerks was actually taking a call from someone that had a vital statistics question and was exchanging that person's personal confidential information, and all the while, this person is in the room with a video camera recording the whole thing and videotaping it. So you just can't have somebody doing that when we have confidential information. And this will allow us to deal appropriately with that.
Thank you, Brock. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
yes,
Mayor Romanek?
Yes.
We have an ordinance approving utility easement agreement with Atlantic City Electric Company pertaining to city-owned property designated as Block 49, Lot 4.
move the ordinance on first reading.
Second it.
We have a motion and a second on ordinance in the first reading, item number 3. Any comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
Yes,
Mayor Romanek?
Yes.
Okay. We removed ordinance on the first reading, item number 4, so we'll just go over to number 5. Ordinance to approve the application and agreement submitted by Livoni RE Management Corp. for a 5-year exemption or abatement from taxation pursuant to Article 1 of Chapter 65 of the municipal code for the project known as Livoni Meat Slicing Facility located at 650 Bogdan Boulevard.
Make a motion on ordinance on the first reading, number 5.
Second motion.
A motion and a second on ordinance on the first reading, item number 5. Any comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
Yes.
Mayor Romnick?
Yes. Resolutions, please.
We have a resolution authorizing a First Amendment to professional services contract with Anderson and Krieger LLP for FAA attorney services regarding the non-renewal of the DRBA lease in the amount of $15,000 with a new not-to-exceed cost of $30,000.
Make motion on resolution item number 1. With that, I do have certification availability of funds in the amount of $15,000 additional, which would be a new not to exceed of $30,000, signed by our CFO, Susan Quinones.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second on resolution item number 1. Any comments?
I have a question, yeah, so maybe I'm a little dense this evening. So if we're going to authorize this professional services contract for the services regarding the non-renewal of the lease, and then we're going to come back and do this other resolution, is this necessary now? Because if I understand, it's probably a question for Brock, we won't actually be negotiating with the DRBA until the end of the 5-year period, is that correct?
Well,
So in
I,
other words, it'd be another
Yeah.
5 years before we start negotiating with the DRBA?
I think we're going to be assuming that they accept, I mean, if the notice of rescission resolution is adopted tonight and is accepted by the DRBA, I think we would start negotiating right away. We have a deadline that we've received from the FAA for May 1st, which is barely more than a month away. So I don't think we can wait at all. We need to get moving on that. But I would agree with your point. I think that if that's the course that we take, hopefully we're not going to be spending much more money on Anderson and Krieger. I don't know if they're going to have some role to play in the negotiations with the DRBA. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But I don't think that we're going to be spending, or I hope we won't be spending much more money on them.
I think we should still have the contract in case we have to ask the question or follow up on anything that's discussed in negotiations.
Yeah, there's no problem having a contract, we don't have to spend the money on it.
Yeah, I still have it, just, for those forthcoming negotiations.
Okay.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
Yes.
Mayor Romnick?
Yes.
Resolution item number 2 is a resolution to increase 2025 temporary budget appropriations.
Make motion on resolution item number 2.
Second motion.
We have a motion and second on resolution item number 2. Any comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
No.
Mayor Romnick?
Yes.
Resolution number 3 is a resolution authorizing the city to enter an emergency contract / purchase order with Garrison Enterprise, Inc. for the repairs of South Jersey Gas Route 47 remediation in an amount not to exceed $20,000.
Make a motion for the resolution item number 3.
Certification of funds, please.
Certification of funds. I have from Susan Quinones, certification of funds for $20,000 by Chief Financial Officer for the emergency water main replacement repair. On second.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second. Thank you, Commissioner Casabun, for that. Resolution item number 3. Any comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
Yes.
Mayor Romnick?
Yes.
Resolution item number 4 is a resolution authorizing the modification of the Department of Parks and Public Properties work schedule to 6 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. with half-hour lunch beginning March 31st, 2025 through October 31st, 2025.
Move the resolution.
Second it.
We have a motion and a second. Resolution item number 4. Any comments?
Yeah, this is just so they can get a head start in the morning.
When it's cooler.
It's cooler
Yeah,
before
it's cooler.
things start getting used.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
Yes.
Mayor Romnick?
Yes.
Resolution item number 5 is a resolution authorizing adjustments to the tax and utility records.
Make motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on resolution item number 5 to adjustments of the tax and utility records. Any comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
Yes.
Mayor Romanek?
Yes.
Resolution item number 6 is a resolution awarding a non-fair and open contract to Spatial Data Logic LLC for software services in an amount not to exceed $29,100, beginning April 1st, 2025, and ending March 31st, 2026.
Move the resolution, item number 6. With that, I do have certification of availability of funds in the amount of $29,100, signed by our CFO, Susan Quinones.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second on item number 6. Any comments? Yes, this is just used for the licensing of construction, subcode officials, zoning, and code enforcement, mainly moving over to construction and subcode officials. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
Yes.
Mayor Romanek?
Yes.
Resolution item number 7 is a resolution rescinding resolution number 294-2024, which provided notice of non-renewal of the Millville Municipal Airport ground lease.
Make motion.
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second on resolution item number 7. Any comments?
Just one. Apparently I don't grasp the concept here. So I'm going to be abstaining. I'm not willing to vote on anything that I don't fully understand, and I do not fully understand this, and I freely admit that.
I'm a bit worried on this too. We talked about this in the closed session numerous times. I don't want to get into a situation here where we lock us in. I know we have to move. I know we have to move. I made that pretty clear in our work session, in our closed session.
This does not,
Yeah.
hold on, Brock. This, from what I've understood, this this will rescind the municipality from the letter of non-renewal. It will rescind that letter. But with that, it will allow for us, the municipality, to further engage in negotiations with the upcoming releasing of with the DRBA. That's what my understanding from the DRBA, and that's what
Yeah.
my understanding is with Brock.
That,
and the
that's
DRBA.
exactly correct, and it's not binding, to answer your question. We're not entering into a binding agreement.
Correct. What we're doing is we are removing, when we said no, we don't want to renew, when we sent them that notice, we are now removing that to open the door to negotiations
Yes,
again.
that's all it does.
It specifically is going to open up the door to
Yes.
negotiations.
Yeah.
And I want to go on the record and state now, I am available most all the time. I would like to be involved in any
There needs,
DRBA negotiations.
there's going to need to be an ordinance that would have to be adopted by this body to renew that lease,
Okay.
okay? So that's.
Which is
the-
going to mean meetings.
Right.
Which is going to mean
Right.
discussions, and I just want to go on record now that I
Yeah.
will make myself available, as
Right.
long as I'm still standing straight up, to be in these meetings, because we have to have two of us at the minimum at these meetings at all times.
So the part of the lease that says it automatically renews doesn't really mean anything.
Well, the problem is, it also says that if either party issues a notice of non-renewal, then the lease does not automatically renew. So that's where we are. I think what we're doing is signaling to the DRBA that, yes, we're interested in having a discussion with you to renew the lease, despite the fact that we issued a notice of non-renewal.
Correct.
Does that help you, Commissioner?
No, that's okay.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
Abstain.
Mayor Romanek?
Yes. New business.
We have a motion to authorize the deputy municipal clerk to advertise for bids for the following project: purchase of cargo trailers.
Make a motion?
Second motion.
We have a motion and a second from the deputy municipal clerk herself to bid for cargo trailers. Any comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hewitt?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Casabun?
Yes.
Commissioner Sui?
Yes.
Mayor Romanek?
Yes. We have now reached the public comment portion of our meeting. Anyone who would like to address the commission, please go to the podium, state your name, and address your concerns. Please limit your comments to approximately 5 minutes. Thank you. I'll run up at once. Nobody wants to say hi. How was their 2 weeks?
Buy lottery tickets.
Yeah, any guesses for the Powerball? Group buy? I'm joking. Seeing no one. Going once, going twice, 3 times, sold. Okay, seeing no one, I will close public comment portion of our meeting. Closing comments of commissioners. Commissioner Hewitt.
Yeah, good discussion tonight. Good working back and forth together. I want to thank everybody for the decision on the lieutenants. It's important. It's important to the city. It's important to the new and upcoming commission. With that, progress.
Thank you, Commissioner Hewitt. Commissioner Sui.
Yes, the only thing I wanted to touch on is something we touched on the work session, which was the use of the sheriff's department and the use of UEZ funds, and so as not to cost the taxpayer anything, to increase patrols. They help us out as it is, and they are willing to, talk to the sheriff today, they're willing to help us out even more, providing we're willing to pay with the UEZ funds, much as we do our regular police officers. And as we're short-staffed, that should give them a little bit of a break too. So that should help everybody, and that would be a temporary solution until the police department gets fully staffed, or at least staffed enough to take care of everything.
And if I may,
Go ahead.
I want to thank Commissioner Sui for bringing this forward, for basically making it work.
You're welcome. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Sui. Commissioner Casabun.
I just have one thing that was in my mailbox. This is National Women's History Month, and we'd like to recognize Donna Stiles for her work with the Hope Center. There was an article in the Reminder and the work that she does. Thank you. And
Thank you.
yes, for a very productive meeting, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Casabun. Vice Mayor Watson.
Again, I want to say real quick, thank you to Joanna and her team for putting this meeting together again, working shorthanded without a municipal clerk. Great job.
Great job.
I think that's all I have for closing comments.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Yes, I would like to thank each and every one of my commissioners for engaging in discussion during these meetings. As you can see, some of these meetings, we don't agree on everything, but to discuss that openly and be respectful, I thank each and every one of you very much for that. And even during the work session, we had very good open dialogue. I joked with Vice Mayor Watson, and I remember when we used to run through them in like 30 seconds or less. And this is a way for us to engage in the public, all 5 at once, to discuss what is happening here in our city of Millville, New Jersey. So I truly do appreciate these types of meetings. And I know they're not going to go all this way. We do have personalities, but I appreciate each and every one of you. I would also like to thank my employer. Being, what's a full-time mayor or part-time mayor for the city of Millville and working through a lot of logistics, a lot of phone calls, it does interfere with my day job. Everybody knows what we make, and it's pennies on the dollar. But my day job works well with what I do, and I would just like to thank my owner, Mr. John Myers of Golf Car Specialties, LLC. We've had our screaming matches through the phone, but we've worked together, and he is a great employer, so if anybody ever needs a golf cart or utility vehicle, please go see Golf Car Specialties. But that is for Mr. Myers, so if you are watching, sir, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I forgot to thank somebody.
Go ahead.
So Mr. Couchy recently renegotiated our Comcast Ethernet contract. And he managed to save us $115,000 over 3 years. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Can you negotiate mine now?
Let's work on cable now. Let's work
The
on
man
cable.
knows how to negotiate.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Couchy. I saw that email come through, and it's great work. It reminded me a couple years ago when we had those outrageous number of phone lines that weren't in use and we were still paying for. That's what that reminded me of. But all the little things. So thank each and every one of you. Motion for adjournment.
Make motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting closed.
Who seconded that?